Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Always exciting to dive in.
Yeah, so today we're going to be looking at something that I think is pretty relatable for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which is that feeling of mattering.
Yeah.
And especially mattering at work.
Right.
This is UnitiQ, the best fractional HR and talent acquisition service company. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It is important for us together with the YouTube algorithms.
And we're going to be taking a look at this interview with Zach Mercurio, who's a leadership expert.
Yeah.
And this interview is published on Simon Sinek's A Spark of Optimism platform.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And, I think it's a really interesting topic because I think we all kind of have this really inherent need to feel valued and to know that we're making a difference.
Absolutely.
And I think it really does start, from the moment we're born, like reaching for our caregivers,
right,
all the way to our careers.
It's that need to be seen and cared for. And I think that just transforms into a drive to find purpose and meaning in our work as adults.
And it's interesting because Mercurio points out that this need to matter can really be a double-edged sword.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm curious what he means by that.
Well, he's basically saying, when our need to matter is met, it can be incredibly energizing. It's like rocket fuel for our soul. But when it's not, things can get a little messy, he says.
Right.
And he really outlines kind of two reactions that we tend to have when we feel insignificant at work.
Okay, what are those?
He calls it withdrawal or acting out.
Oh, so you're either the quiet quitter in the corner or you're like stirring up drama in the break room?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
You think about, we've all seen that, haven't we?
I think we've probably all been there at some point.
Maybe even being those people. And it's like that urge to withdraw, to just go through the motions. It can totally stem from feeling like your contributions don't matter.
Right, like what's the point?
Exactly. And then on the flip side, acting out, whether it's, complaining or blaming others or gossiping, it can be a way to try and grab attention when you feel invisible.
It's almost like a desperate attempt to be seen.
Right, even if it's in a negative light.
Right. Yeah, it's like you just want to be acknowledged in some way.
Exactly. And it's like, well, how common is this really?
Right. Is this something that a lot of people are struggling with, or?
Well, Mercurio throws out some pretty startling statistics.
Oh, really?
He says that almost 30% of employees report feeling invisible or ignored at work.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. That's nearly a third of the workforce.
Feeling like they don't matter.
Feeling like they don't matter? That's huge.
Yeah. And I bet that has ripple effects on everything.
Oh, absolutely. Productivity, morale, everything.
So what can organizations actually do, to combat this?
Yeah.
Is it just about being nicer to employees, or is there...
I mean, it's more than just being nice.
Right.
Mercurio talks about really building what he calls a mattering environment. And he kind of outlines these key elements that he thinks are important.
What are some of those?
Well, he talks about fostering skills like active listening, not just hearing what someone's saying, but really understanding their perspective.
Yeah.
And then showing meaningful gratitude where you're actually specific about what you appreciate and how it impacted you.
Right.
And also just making sure that people feel needed.
Yeah.
Making sure that they feel like their skills and their talents are being utilized.
But aren't those just behaviors? Like, can't people just kind of fake it till they make it,
Oh, that's a great point. I've worked in places like that.
Yeah, me too.
Where, it seems like on the surface those things are encouraged, but it doesn't really feel genuine.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mercurio touches on this too.
Okay.
He says it's not just about, talking about these skills, but it's about really having systems and environments that actually support them.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So, think about, a workplace where people are constantly overloaded and they don't have the time to really listen to each other.
Yeah.
Or a culture where everyone's so focused on individual achievements that they don't take the time to acknowledge the contributions of others.
Right.
In those environments, even if people want to practice active listening or show gratitude, the system is kind of working against them.
So it's really about aligning your actions with the overall company culture. Otherwise, it just feels like lip service.
Exactly. It's like trying to grow a plant in bad soil. You can water it all you want, but if the environment's not right, it's not going to thrive.
Right.
So creating this mattering environment, it requires a more holistic approach, where those behaviors are not just encouraged, but they're really embedded in the fabric of the workplace.
Yeah, they're part of the DNA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction.
So it's not enough to just talk the talk. You really have to walk the walk.
You got it.
Okay, so let's dive into some more of what Mercurio has to say about how to actually create that environment.
Sounds good. It's about creating this ecosystem where people genuinely feel seen and valued, and where their contributions are recognized and appreciated and, not just tolerated.
Yeah, so how do we make that happen on an individual level? Is there something we can do, like a magic phrase, to instantly boost someone's sense of mattering?
Well, Mercurio does offer this really simple but surprisingly powerful phrase that he suggests we can all start using.
Oh, what's that?
And it's basically just saying, if it wasn't for you.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So think about it, right? Instead of just a generic thank you, which can sometimes feel a little hollow, you're immediately acknowledging the specific impact of the other person's actions.
Whoa. Right.
So it forces you to really articulate how their contribution made a difference.
Right.
And that makes them feel seen and appreciated in a much deeper way.
I see what you mean. So it's not just, thanks for helping with the project. It's if it wasn't for you staying late to finish those reports, we wouldn't have been able to meet that deadline.
Exactly.
So it really shifts the focus from this vague sense of gratitude to a very concrete acknowledgement of their value.
Exactly. And, it goes beyond just making the other person feel good. By forcing yourself to articulate their impact, you're also training your own brain to recognize and appreciate the contributions of those around you.
Oh, that's a good point. So it's like a double dose of mattering.
It is.
I love that. Okay, but what about, those of us who struggle to see our own value?
Yeah.
How do we overcome, that internal hurdle of feeling like we don't matter?
That's a great question. And it is something that Mercurio addresses.
Okay.
He talks about this tendency that we have to kind of underestimate our own impact on others. He calls it underestimation bias.
Oh, I am so guilty of that.
Right.
I'll do something that I think is, pretty minor.
Right.
And then someone will react like I've moved mountains for them.
And you're like, what?
I know. And I'm always surprised when someone expresses like so much gratitude for something that I consider just a small gesture.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of that underestimation bias, right?
Yeah.
We tend to really downplay our own contributions, especially like those everyday acts of kindness or support. We focus on those big splashy achievements, but we kind of overlook that cumulative impact of all those little things that we do that really make a difference.
Right. So are you saying we should flip the script?
Yeah.
And instead of assuming that our actions don't matter, we should almost operate under the assumption that they do.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than we realize.
Exactly. And he suggests this, simple but really powerful mental shift.
Okay.
Just try to overestimate your positive effect on others.
Oh.
And one way to do that is to really start paying attention to those small, seemingly insignificant actions that actually do make a difference.
Okay.
He talks about, asking his kids every day, who did you help today?
Oh, I love that.
And who helped you today?
I love that those are great questions.
And by asking them regularly, you're training your brain to really focus on those moments of impact.
Yeah.
Both the ways you've helped others and the ways others have helped you. It helps you develop that more balanced perspective and really combats that tendency to minimize your own contributions.
So it's like a daily gratitude journal?
Yes.
But with a focus on actions and impact.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And it really ties into the overall theme of gratitude, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Gratitude is like the fuel that keeps that mattering engine running. When we express genuine gratitude, we're acknowledging someone's value.
Yeah.
And making them feel like they matter.
But as we talked about before, it's not just about, a quick thanks.
Right.
Mercurio emphasizes that, meaningful gratitude needs to be specific and impact-driven.
It does.
So it can't just be this vague, I appreciate you.
Right.
It needs to be, I appreciate you staying late to help me with that presentation. It made a huge difference. I couldn't have done it without you.
Exactly. And he really, emphasizes the importance of articulating that why behind your gratitude. What specifically did the person do you're thankful for? How did their actions make you feel? What impact did it have on you or the situation?
Right.
By being specific, you're not just expressing gratitude, you're really reinforcing the other person's sense of mattering.
And it's not just a feel-good thing either, right?
No, it's not.
There's actual science behind the power of gratitude.
There is.
Tell me about that.
Well, studies have shown that expressing gratitude actually activates our reward system in our brain.
Oh, wow.
And it releases dopamine, which is associated with those feelings of pleasure and well-being. Gratitude's also been shown to actually strengthen neural pathways in areas of the brain that are related to empathy and social bonding.
So not only does being grateful make us feel good,
Yeah.
but it actually strengthens our relationships and our ability to connect with others.
Exactly.
Wow. And I remember reading somewhere, too, that gratitude can have a pretty immediate impact.
Yeah.
It doesn't take months of therapy to reap the benefits.
You're absolutely right. Some research has actually suggested that simply practicing gratitude for a few days can lead to noticeable improvements in relationships.
That's amazing.
So think about that. Just a few days of consciously focusing on what you appreciate about the people in your life
Wow.
can make a real difference in how you connect with them.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
And it just makes you wonder about the ripple effects. If one
yeah.
person starts expressing more gratitude, it could potentially create this chain reaction of positivity.
Right.
That would be amazing.
And Mercurio actually shares this really powerful story that I think illustrates this concept beautifully.
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, he was leading a workshop with school staff, and there was this woman named Jeanine.
Okay.
And she initially felt like her work didn't matter.
What kind of work did she do?
She was responsible for, scheduling paperwork, all those behind-the-scenes tasks.
Okay.
They're, essential but often go unnoticed.
Right, so she felt invisible.
She felt invisible. She felt like her contributions weren't really valued.
I can see how that would be really demoralizing. You're working hard, but it feels like no one even notices.
Exactly. But then something amazing happened.
What happened?
As Jeanine was sharing those feelings of insignificance,
Yeah.
the teachers in the room started speaking up.
Oh, wow.
One by one, expressing their gratitude for her work.
So they finally had a chance to see the impact of her effort.
They did, and they started sharing specific examples of how Jeanine had helped them.
Yeah.
How her meticulous scheduling had made their lives easier, how her, efficient handling of paperwork had freed up their time to focus on teaching.
Wow.
It was a really powerful moment of affirmation for Jeanine.
Yeah.
And it really highlighted the ripple effects of even those seemingly invisible contributions.
That's such a good reminder that everyone matters, even those in roles that don't always get the spotlight.
Yes, it is. It's a reminder that every contribution, no matter how small it may seem, has this ripple effect that we may not always see or fully appreciate.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is for someone to just express that appreciation.
To make all the difference.
Exactly.
Yeah. It really is amazing how, those small, often overlooked contributions can have such a huge impact.
Right.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into mattering, what are some of the key takeaways that you're hoping our listeners will walk away with?
Well, I think the biggest one is that feeling like we matter. It's not just a nice to have. It's essential, for our well-being.
Right.
And it's crucial for creating a thriving workplace.
Yeah.
But the good news is we can all take concrete steps to both cultivate that feeling in ourselves and help others feel valued.
Yeah, we've talked about some practical strategies today.
Oh, yeah.
Like actively listening, showing meaningful gratitude, and making people feel needed. And of course, there's that "if it wasn't for you" phrase, which I'm definitely going to start using more often.
It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to acknowledge someone's impact. And remember, it's not just about the other person.
Right.
By consciously practicing these behaviors, you're also strengthening your own sense of mattering.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's a win-win.
I like that.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about that mental shift that Mercurio talks about, moving from underestimating our impact to overestimating it.
Yes.
We need to pay more attention to those small everyday actions.
Right.
That might seem insignificant, but actually make a difference.
They do. They all add up. And by focusing on them, we can combat that underestimation bias and really start to see our own value more clearly.
It's like we're all part of this intricate web of mattering, where even the smallest thread plays a vital role in the overall strength and beauty of the tapestry.
I love that.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, is there a final thought or question that you want to leave our listeners with?
I think a good one to ponder is knowing what we now know about the impact of mattering.
Yeah.
What's one small but meaningful action you can take this week to make someone in your life, whether it's at work at home or in your community, feel seen, appreciated, and like they truly matter?
That's a great challenge to leave everyone with.
I hope so.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences.
Yeah.
So feel free to share your if it wasn't for you moments or any other mattering insights with us on social media.
Yeah, let's keep the conversation going.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep making each other matter.
If you like what we do, please like and subscribe to our channel. This is all for today. See you in the next episode.